So I'm reading the book The Gap and the Gain. It's by Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy. If you follow some of my other content, I met Dr. Benjamin Hardy this year at an entrepreneurial event. I absolutely fell in love with everything that guy says. So I'm gonna read all the books. We were actually supposed to read one of the books before the event, but I wasn't prepared enough to do that and just had a lot going on at the time, so I didn't. But I just finished 10x is easier than 2x, and now I'm reading The Gap and the Gain, and then I'm gonna read Who Not How. But I think you're actually supposed to read them in the complete opposite order, but whatever, it works for me. I'm still gaining all the information. If you're telling me or you're thinking, Emily, I don't have time to read, how the hell do you have time to read with a baby and a business and all these other things? Well, I do all audiobooks, which I love, but if you don't have time for that, Notebook LM on Google, if you have a Google Suite or G Suite, if you go to Notebook LM, tell it to give you the synopsis of the entire book, it'll give you a 15-minute podcast over the whole book. Thank me later. I have read a couple of books that way. Sometimes they're just too sciencey, and I'm like, I don't want to know all the psychology behind it. I just want to know what to do in my business to grow it. Sometimes I have to just get the overview and not go from there because it's just too much for me. Do what you have to do. But The Gap and the Gain is kind of talking about how if you're not happy, you can't move forward. As an owner, I have certainly experienced this several times. Sometimes you're comparing yourself to where you think you should be, and then you're upset at where you are. You're not progressing forward because you're not where you want to be, which isn't that the story of life? So you have to find gratitude in every day in the things that you are doing to be able to move into the gain where you're getting good back. Because the gap of like your picture from where you want to be versus where you are is so big that you're like, how the hell am I going to get there? But if you just believe you're already there, or look back at your wins and how successful you've been along the way, which is why athletes, people who are performing in high school and college at athletic levels, they usually are more successful in business and life because they're trained that way all the time. So just a fun fact. But what I came on here to say was I was on this podcast this last week, and I love how every podcast always is like either like fun facts or something at the end, or what are you doing every day to like better yourself, or whatever the question is. So she asked like, how do you do what you do? What's your, I don't know if it was the morning routine or whatever, but the more that I work out and take care of myself and do like journaling or meditation or manifestation, the better I get, and the better things happen, the faster they come. The more I'm negative in my head and all up in there thinking I'm failing, I'm not successful, all these things, the longer it takes. In the book today, they talked about like your happiness level and how, I don't remember the other guy's name, the Almanac of Novel, whoever. That book was really long, but actually it was really great too. It just is hard to get into at first. But when I read that book, he talks about happiness and how happiness is a choice. But a lot of us, and even myself in the past, there was a coach I had and I said, I just want to be happy. She stopped me right there. She was like, no, you don't get to find happiness. You have to choose happiness. She stopped me. She made me write a list of all the things that made me happy. So if you're struggling with this, stop right now after you listen to this. Go write yourself a happiness list, all the things on it that make you happy. For example, on my current happiness list would be spending time with my family. And not just like because the weekend can end up being just endless days of chores or whatever you gotta do, but like a family outing is what one of our things on our list that we do every week is. So I'm getting ready right now. We're actually going to a birthday party, which some people wouldn't think is fun. For me, it's getting out, it's being social. I love people, so it makes me happy. Plus, a lot of our friends are going to be there in the community that we've built. So that is a happiness for us. And then tonight, we're actually going out to the desert with some friends to shoot off fireworks, which I've never done before. I hope that the baby is excited. Otherwise, we'll end up in the truck. But that sounds like fun, even though I don't really like fireworks. But there's food and there's new friends. That is a happiness place for me. One of my happiest places is in the middle of a crowd. I love going to concerts, music, live events, anything like that. You give me a few drinks and I am in the middle of the dance floor. Everyone is my best friend. That's just like, who I am. But other things in the past that I had on my happiness list when my dad was still alive was lunch with my dad and Sundays by the pool with my dad. Those were like almost a non-negotiable. Like I just made that time, especially knowing he had Alzheimer's towards the end. And so we spent every weekend by the pool with him while he was still living here. And like some of those are my favorite final memories that we had together. Some of the other ones were like when my grandpa was alive, like talking to him every week. Because sometimes they've been through so much in life that you have no idea. And my grandpa, well, he wasn't an entrepreneur. He was high up in his company and he had to do a lot of hiring and firing. When I was new in my company, I leaned on him really hard to help me get through that. Because if you've ever had to fire your first employee, it is the worst day of your life. This third, however many others, don't get any easier unless maybe you're a serial killer. But because I don't find happiness in that. But at the end of the day, it's a business decision. It has to be done at certain points. So talking to my grandpa was always one. Vacation is a really big one for my husband and I. We love travel. So we actually just decided we're going to be taking 6 weeks of vacation each year. And we're doing 3 in July and 3 in January or December. So I'm really excited for that to be coming up. But maybe you start with a day off or a weekend. Because some of you are newer stylists and some of you are working 2 jobs. You don't have any time, but you have to fill your cup or you will just burn out. You can't keep going. And I think at the time when I was looking for this happiness that I didn't have, I was burning the candle at both ends. I was running the company and I probably was working like 7 days a week, 6 days a week, something like that. And then on my 7th day, I was cleaning and cooking around my house and like doing all this stuff. And I was barely even getting paid because new salon owners, they don't make a lot of money. I lived on my credit card for the first several years of owning my company and I rented my room on Airbnb just to grow it. I mean, unless you inherited a lot of money, you have huge amounts of loans that you could get, but that wasn't my story. A lot of salon owners do inherit money to grow and open their salons, but I have worked every day for the company. But I think that makes me more grateful for it and more grateful for my story. I've learned a lot of lessons along the way. So what is your happiness list? What are your top 5 on it? Comment below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. If you don't follow me, give me a follow, and I just come on and do these big rants all the time. Talk about different things in my head that are helpful in my life that I hope are helpful in yours. We'll talk soon. Have a good weekend.